If you're in a relationship, how do you financially plan for everything? Rosso is a certified public accountant to talk with us today about what you need to think about financially when you get into a relationship. Thanks so much for joining us today.
It's going to the dogs.
It is. It's completely going to the dogs.
You know, we're all serious about our pets. I am there too. My princess is everything to me.
We certainly understand that. Okay, let's talk about what you're getting yourself into. When you get into a relationship and money, it's something that it seems like everybody fights about.
Well, it is. I always talk about, if you're dating, say for example, use the word bite, and it has nothing to do with dogs. But the first thing you always want to do is make sure that you're very secure with yourself financially first. That's budgeting. It's really looking at your own situation even before you're going out to date and making sure that you understand what your expenses are and overall, and discussing that. Now, if this is a partner that you've been with for a while, you have to have this money conversation before you get serious, because you have no idea what you're getting into.
What if you happen to fall in love with someone who is in major debt? They've got tons of credit cards they owe. It's just stacking up and you're concerned about it, but you really want to marry this person, but you're a little concerned about what's going to happen after you get married. Is it going to keep piling up?
And those are money habits or characteristics that may not change. And that is a tough decision for a lot of people, Melissa. So what you have to do is set plateaus. Set ways of saying, okay, your credit score is not very good, mine is very good. The national average is 720. So if you're below 700 or so, you're probably in pretty rough shape. Or maybe you have a lot of debt. You have to realize that might inhibit your life going forward. So set up the plateaus. We're not going to get married until this changes. And make sure that you work together toward those goals. But again, it's that open dialogue. You might have to postpone the marriage for a little bit. I know it might be tough to do, but for the longer term, 75% of couples fight over money, and it's one of the leading causes of divorce.
Doesn't it seem like in most relationships there's someone who's fairly conservative where the dollar's concerned, and then there's the spender, and they even each other out a little bit? And it certainly, for the most part with my friends, it seems like the women are the shoppers and the men kind of reel them in and say, let's save. Do you see that a lot?
It's an ebb and flow. If you're not totally on the same plane, but you're sort of similar, that's fine. If you're totally disparate, one's a prolific spender and the other one is just an incredible saver, you are going to have a lot of conflict in the relationship. There's nothing wrong with one being more cognizant of the finances than the other, but it's like clay. You've got to mold it into something that portends to both of you. And maybe that's one of your spouses or your girlfriend or your boyfriend may not have just been interested in it. Maybe there's a way for you to provide interest, get them involved in some of the things that you're doing financially. It might excite them, you never know. Maybe they were just never brought into it as they were growing up.
Does it help any of the fighting in your experience if perhaps they get separate accounts and they agree on this is how much you're going to save every single month? You put that in our savings or through our investments, and then you have this money that you can spend in any way you want. You don't have to account for it. Is that safe, or are you just going to get yourself in more financial problems if you do that?
Well, first of all, it's probably good to have, especially before the marriage, you have separate property. It's probably best to keep it as such. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with sitting on. That goes back to that B word of budgeting. Going in and then dividing it out and saying, hey, your allowance is $500 a month. Just saying, well, mine's $200 a month, whatever it might be. Make sure that we're sticking to it. And then again, that's an agreement. These are things that you really even can put in writing and talk about. Get it out there, on the surface.
And perhaps if you get all this up front at the first of the marriage or of the serious relationship, you'll stop all the fighting. Rosso, thank you so much for coming in. Great to talk to you. Good advice.